What's going on, people? Feroncio here, and I'm back with another Battle Mage saga episode. So, in this episode, I want to explain a few things that will help you understand the build and why I'm doing this in this way. First, the purpose of this series is not to do a complete walkthrough, although I'm trying to get the most relevant items in the game. The purpose of this series is to showcase how a regular Elden Ring player could build a powerful battle mage starting from the very beginning. All other content providers just show you a build, their stats and gear when they're already built, but assume that you'll be able to just get all those items and go from there. Additionally, here you can experience some of the challenge that acquiring some of those items pose, but in a natural progression. So let's sit down at this side of Grace and let's go take a look at our character. So at level 70, we have the following stacks: 25 Vigor, 17 Mind, 15 Endurance, 18 Strength, 18 Dexterity, and 40 Intelligence, 8 Fate, 8 Arcane. So this is not huge pool of vigor, and we don't have a lot of endurance, right? So before I go explaining the other things, I I need to explain how buff works in this game and why some players do insane amount of damages by properly stacking those buffs. So in Elden Ring, a buff, it's an item gem that during a certain amount of time provide the player with a benefit, like increased damage, for example. So these buffs are divided into 9 separate categories. Like we have weapon, shield, body, aura, regen, stamina regen, fall damage, dodge roll, and a special buff category. The main rule to understand is that you can only have a single active buff in each category, exception made for the special buff. So, by carefully planning how to buff and in what order, you can achieve insane amount of damages, and that is what the players dedicated to kill bosses in one shot, for example, do. Like, you're going to seppuku yourself by using the Lords of Exaltation medallion, which causes, 20% more damage because there is bleeding on the side, and then you put armaments that totally benefit for you to be in a bleeding state or have bleeding around. So this is the way that the whole thing works, okay? So now you can see the benefits of carefully choosing what armor, weapons, sorcery, incantation, and crafted items you need in order to make your build really work and shine, in your life easier, and boss fights not so difficult as it seems. For example, in this building, let's go take a look at my equipment, for example. So in this building, I started up with a sorcery. So let's go back to the side of grace so we can look at the sorceries that I have. And you're going to remember that right on the beginning, I started up with a scholar's armament, right here. So scholar armament enchants my weapon, and that means a weapon buff, right? So I could use, for example, blood flame blade to enchant my weapon with fire, but I cannot use both of them at the same time. I can either use scholar's armament or I can use blood flame blade. But at the same time, I could use blood flame blade and use flame grant me strength to benefit from that. I also can stack up golden vow because golden vow is an aura buff, flame grant me strength is a body buff, and blood flame blade of scholar armament is a weapon buff. So all of those buffs working together will tremendously increase the amount of damage that you do or the amount of mitigation that you take. So some of those buffs are good also to prevent damage, right? So with that in mind, let's go take a look at my equipment at the moment. So we have Moonveil, which is a terrific weapon. It's totally OP. It causes blood loss build-up, which is bleeding. I don't benefit much because I have very little arcane, but that weapon scales tremendously with intelligence, and it is a little buff, but it's a buff nonetheless. Now, however, if I switch this and I put Ushigatana, for example, I can uh, remove this Ash of War from Ushigatana, which is Holly at the moment, which is a buff. It is a weapon buff. So I'm going to switch this, and I'm going to pay for example, I'm going to put the same Ash of War in here. It's a sacred blade, but I want to have it, for example, standard. So now I have a Ushigatana. I'm going to enchant it back. For example, I'm going to put Sacred on Ishigatana, but I'm not going to use the Sacred Affinity. What I'm going to do is use, for example, a Standard Affinity, and then I am going to go back in here just for this demo. I'm going to memorize the spell, and I'm going to say, put, my Scholar Armament on it. So when I look at my weapon this way, and if I go take a look on the right side and see attack power for this right armament 1, it's 336. So if I do, for example, enchant my weapon with a Scholar Armament, now I go take a look how much damage it is doing. You're going to see now I have 491. It's an incredible amount of damage that I am getting as a buff for this sorcery. So that's one of the reasons I have Wuxi in my side, let's put it this way. So I can adapt by any time. I can put, for example, any kind of Ash of War in here, and depending on the Ash of War, I can benefit not just for the Ash of War, I can also benefit for having a Scholar Armament on the weapon. So I have both of them at the same time, and that is a huge, massive advantage on me. Now, on top of that, for example, if I want to be really, on the extreme, let's say that I want to do and increase even more damage by staying stationary. So that is why I have Terra Magica here. So Terra Magica is, one of these special buff that is in that category and will stack with all the buffs. So you can have all of these buffs stacked. You can even go and eat exalted flesh. Then you're going to even do even more physical damage. You're going to do holy damage, and you're going to do magic damage. All of this is stacked up together. So this is the way to really maximize and truly have a really powerful OP character. So at this time, let's go take a look again at my stats. So if you look at the stats, you're going to see that I'm showing up 35 vigor, but I know I don't have 35 vigor. I have 25 vigor, not 35. So why do I appear to have so much? So if you go here on the level up, I have only 25 vigor, right? Yeah, but then I'm using some special items that grants me more stats that I actually have. So by using the Great Rune for Radon, I gain 5 extra points in Vigor, Mind, Endurance, Strength, and Dexterity. So that is a mass and intelligence. Look at that. I do have 5 extra points in intelligence. It's a huge 5 extra points across the board. So 35, 22, I had originally Arcane at 8, now I have Arcane at 13. I had 8 Faith, now I have 13. So the Great Rune grant me 5 in all of those items. Now that's just 5. Where are the other 5s coming from? So remember, I have the Radagon Sword Seal also equipped. That grants me 5 in 4 other categories like Vigor, Endurance, Strength, and Dexterity. So that is right there. I have a huge, massive buff in rune levels and in 20 other levels just for vigor, endurance, strength, and dexterity. This is how this thing becomes really powerful. Also, I'm a mage, right? Why my sorceries causes so much damage? Because I have the Graven School Talisman, which is raising the potency of the sorceries, and I have the Radagon icon, which shortens the spell casting time. So I am totally buffing up all of this, and I'm not even using any of that. So in some bosses, I have, right here on my dagger, I have Golden Vow, right? So I can use my dagger, and I just took it off, and I'm going to put it back so I don't get into a sticky situation. Uh, but so Golden Vow on the dagger on the side, it's tremendous. Why is that? Well, Golden Vow will grant me 20% damage mitigation and also grant me 20% more damage. Really, it is just insane the amount of stacks that we can have. Now, Golden Vow is an aura buff. If I try to use another aura buff, then I would lose Golden Vow. But I can use, for example, Golden Vow with Seppuku, or I can use Golden Vow with Flame Grant Me Strength. So those are the kind of things that we can play together in order to make our character do a lot of damage or mitigate some of the damage. So far, I have not been tapping into the item craft because I've been totally ignoring some of the recipes, but I have already been used some of those fighter pots. When I was in the Carrion Manor, I used fighter pots to, deal with the Hansies. So they hate fire. I also use fire grease on my weapon. I use Ushigatana and fire grease instead of using Moonveil, for example. And you're going to see through the game, I'm going to be making use of all of this. I have not made use yet of, for example, perfume bottles. But I think perfume bottles are terrific add-ons because will cause a lot of damage, and some of those bottles can even mitigate damage. They will create a bubble around you, pretty much like the bubble that I have over here when I, for example, drink my flask of wondrous physics. So now this bubble will protect me for the initial hit and for the damage, and the perfume bottle, that is a perfume bottle with the same effect that we can carry, we can equip, and we can be drinking that to mitigate some of these damages. So this is just a small chat to clarify some of the things that I'm doing and where we're going to take this build on. Now again, at Altus Plateau with rule level 70, it's not really that powerful, guys. I'm actually under level here. So Altus Plateau should be, and we go into Leyndell, I should be level 90 to 100. I'm still considered, for example, in my opinion, I'm still late early game. I'm not even middle game yet. Let's say for a stretch, because of all the buffs, I can do all middle content and some late middle content as I am doing with some easy, but that is only due because of all of these buffs and stacks and weapons and appropriate equipment that I'm using. Another interesting thing that you're going to see is that I am not using the meteoric stuff anymore. What I did was I started to upgrade the Academy Glintstone stuff, and that's what I'm doing. And this stuff is at this level, it will, over, it will surpass the performance of the meteoric staff by miles. So we're scaling way better than uh, the meteoric stuff at the moment, and we are scaling S, same as the meteoric stuff. The good thing is that now, I have a way to upgrade my stuff. I have not even upgraded fully. He is still level 14. We still need to upgrade this better, but you can see where I'm going, right? So by using the proper equipment, by using the proper talismans, by using the proper sorceries, incantations, you can do a insane amount of damage and breeze to all of this content. So I hope you have enjoyed the content of this video. If you have, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notify button so you can be notified when I put new content out. But way more important, leave a comment so I know what is that you're thinking, what content you want to see in the channel, what kind of things I'm doing right, what kind of things I'm doing wrong. Please leave your feedback so we can drive the content to the content that you really want to see in the channel. And with that, I'll see you in the next episode.